Hello, listener. Suyana here, reading Chapter 27 from the All-Inclusive Approach, The Art of Divine Remembrance. This chapter is entitled Embodiment. This process of remembering my eternal nature has brought consistency and momentum to how I approach myself and the world. For me, the philosophy sounds something like this. I create my own reality as an energetic being for the highest good. I am still that energetic being, experiencing this holographic reality designed for expansion and evolution. My unique paradigm is set before me in absolute perfection. My contribution is the dynamic and ever-changing attitude and perspective I bring to everything I see, feel, hear, and experience. Doubt, violence, compassion, persistence, love, failure, judgment, forgiveness, optimism, fear, faith, joy, and justice, resolution, curiosity, boredom, rudeness, kindness, and more. I call this my free will. All of existence is here for me to embrace, and I am here to express my experience of it authentically. This is my eternal purpose. These ideas have become the anthem of my days. I am the creator of my experience. What do I wish to create? I have already created this reality for my highest good. What intention aligns with that truth? If my life was set with the intentions and manifestations of my spirit before I incarnated, which I believe it was, my role is to embody the character I am here to play with willingness, enthusiasm, and authenticity. The answer comes easily, but the wisdom and faith to apply it requires patience and practice. We are, after all, identifying as mortal beings in a dualistic paradigm. What I wish to create has evolved beyond my mind's desire to mold reality to its preferences, conditioned by societal expectations. It has matured into a way of authentically meeting and experiencing reality, with the intention to bring the highest perception and consciousness to each moment. This approach keeps me buoyant on days when I spiral into self-judgment and grounded on days when I feel like bursting into a million pieces. Either way, with the support of Source, I create my reality. Only now the I has shifted. It is no longer the mind-oriented self, hopeful yet desperately trying to mold the world into its preferences. It is not the self bargaining for a life free from obstacles or hardship to validate worthiness. It isn't the I that constantly questions whether things are as they are, with the intention of making those things better or different. It is not the self attempting to will experiences, circumstances, or outcomes into existence. This is a different version of I. The shift has been gradual. You may relate to some of these examples, as maturing and integrating is a cumulative process for many of us. Without effort, I found myself breathing deeply in moments of growth or triggers, rather than reacting defensively. I paid attention to my inner landscape without the need to avoid or suppress what arose. I was cultivating the skill of not projecting my emotional content or triggers onto others. Gradually, I began to embody this way of being. Someone would interrupt me for the 10th time, and instead of frustration, I would find myself breathing deeply, my heart smiling, and a genuine desire to hear them more attentively. I'd understand that in that moment, they didn't have the capacity to hear me, but I had the capacity to hear them. On other days, I would acknowledge the lack of my capacity and excuse myself from the interaction to tend to my own needs, blessing my heart in the process because I couldn't help but judge them for their behavior in those moments. This is a fluid process. It's not stagnant. We don't just end up in one place and stay there all the time, no matter what. I reveled in the wisdom that flowed through me to those ready to receive it, feeling grateful to be a vessel of light without attaching significance to my sense of self. Yet I thoroughly enjoyed my participation in the exchange. It wasn't personal, it was universal. When unexpected events occurred, I chose stillness over action to restore balance. I moved my body and ate wholesome foods not to meet external standards society had decided, but to feel energized, nourished, revitalized, and self-loving. There were steps forward and backward, and I transitioned from victimhood to being a willing participant in life's dance, and then back again, and then back again, and then forward again. I stopped trying to will, negotiate, or manipulate my reality in order to feel worthy, connected, seen, valued, loved, supported, or appreciated by Source. I began to trust that everything I experienced was evidence that these qualities were already embodied within me, and I saw them in everyone around me. Source was not something outside of me deciding my worth. Source was what I am. I was achieving a harmonious relationship with all that is by embracing the reality of my current environment and being willing to fully be myself within it. And by environment, I mean the internal and the external one. The need to uncover or predict the future became irrelevant because I trusted that every moment in the present was guiding me exactly where I was meant to go. Recognizing everything as an expression of Source, I made it my intention to acknowledge all aspects of my experience as sacred. I allowed all manner of emotions, thoughts, and feelings to arise and be welcomed as expressions of the divine. I was in a deeply committed relationship. Even the shadows surfacing within me were embraced as part of the evolving collective consciousness. I realized the most effective way I could contribute to this collective evolution was through my willingness to sit with whatever arose without resistance. And when resistance inevitably surfaced, because of course it would, I included that too without condemnation or rejection. Everything was welcome. Being myself is both empowering and disorienting. It requires faith. Trying to actualize a new way of being in a world that operates within an old paradigm can feel isolating, disorienting, and uncertain. But know this, you are not alone. We are many, and more of us are awakening to our inner worlds and our dynamic roles in this transformation. We are all at varying stages of integrating the wisdom of our highest expression with the conditioned aspects of self that still seek to maintain our current reality. And that's okay. We are here, we are where we are, and no amount of wishing for a different reality will change that. The value of acceptance and compassion cannot be overstated, which is why I've reiterated these principles throughout the book. You are a powerful creator and creation. Your power does not lie in bending reality to your will, but embracing, loving, and accepting all of existence as the expression of Source that it is. It is the ultimate gift we give the world, to be okay with who we are and where we are in our evolutionary process. There is no way to avoid or impede your progress. You are forever evolving through the intelligent design of Source. The part of you that fears it can sabotage or destroy your opportunity to grow is itself an aspect being evolved. Each moment you feel you've missed an opportunity or failed to get it right, that part of your consciousness is being invited to transform. Often it mistakenly sees itself as the driver of evolution, rather than the one being carried through it. But the true I am is always guiding and facilitating ascension, connection, with compassion and love, regardless of your beliefs. Believing this truth simply feels better than denying it. The idea that I create all of this can feel overwhelming when viewed from the limiting perspective of me, the singular personality housed in a body. One of the most disorienting elements of this journey for me was realizing that I am not just me. I am beyond me. And yet I've been gifted the opportunity to be this unique me and fully commit to this individual experience. The one beyond me, the I that created this me, is the same Source that manifests the experiences I am having. It is up to me to cultivate trust and humility as the choices I made unfold within my ever-changing paradigm. I told you it was disorienting. I've come to understand that my absolute point of power lies in my perception, my perspective, and the intentions I bring to this shared energetic experience. This reframes the law of attraction entirely. Life doesn't punish or reward. It isn't about karmic debt or cosmic tests. Life is about evolution, experience, and growth. When you're not actively evolving, you're integrating what you've experienced to prepare for the next phase of growth. Imagine how much kinder you could be to yourself if you saw your circumstances not as punishments, rewards, or the fault of others, but as the building blocks of your perception, guiding you toward your highest potential. This is why we are eternal beings, made in the imagination of Source. The question I hear most often is how. How do I embody these philosophies in my daily life? It's an understandable question. It's the one that I spent this entire book answering for myself. And my answer simply is this: do it. Engage in these conversations. Read these books. Open yourself to this dialogue and way of being. Sit in contemplation. Explore. There are countless techniques, workshops, and seminars that delve into self-inquiry and personal development. But the most effective practice is to live this approach daily. Embrace every experience as valuable and supportive of your highest expression. Take care of the body you've been gifted with, and when all else fails, just breathe. I've begun to observe an intriguing and somewhat amusing dynamic in the journey toward embodying divine consciousness and form. As you progress, patterns of worry, doubt, fear, addiction, distraction, and lack often seem to amplify. This isn't a punishment, but a natural part of liberation coming to completion. What may feel like a setback is, in truth, an invitation to honor and complete the stages of self-realization. You have to know what's in there in order to be realized. Can you see the value in these states of being? When immersed in emotional turbulence and mental constructs, can you willingly sit with them, acknowledge them? Or do you rush to distract yourself by any means necessary because you think somehow superstitiously they will compound if you give them your attention? When you engage in addictive patterns or habitual distractions, do you respond with self-judgment, rejection, condemnation, labeling yourself as weak, unconscious, self-sabotaging, or unworthy? And when your reservoir of self-judgment runs dry, do you turn it outward, criticizing others for not meeting your expectations? Does any of this sound familiar? How hard are you on yourself during this process? Are you living the story right now? Perhaps you resist what is showing up in your reality, constantly trying to stay ahead of unfavorable circumstances, behaviors, or thoughts, fearing they will worsen if you let your guard down. Maybe you wonder if you'll have enough money, time, self-control, conviction, or resources to stay afloat. Perhaps someone else's success makes you feel as though there's less to go around, or it highlights your own perceived shortcomings. Do you find yourself feeling less evolved or successful, unsure of your purpose, or lack the patience to let it unfold? Or perhaps you know your purpose, but struggle to master the courage to act. You might feel lost, alone, and disconnected from your eternal nature, playing out the familiar narrative of separation and scarcity. Let's face it, we've all been there, caught in some variation of this cosmic drama. That's why books like this exist, to provide comfort and reassurance that the space between awakening and embodying is purposeful, not in vain. Allow me to remind you, there is immense value in the process. Those thoughts and feelings you may view as obstacles are actually powerful catalysts for your growth. They are not random. They are essential components of a grander design, supporting your highest potential. You have a unique role to play in this world, one that no one else can fulfill. However, we often become so distracted by false narratives that even the truth, no matter how comforting, can feel difficult to believe. Eventually, all the techniques, practices, and efforts to outrun your inner stories fail and fall away. This makes space for these aspects of the collective consciousness, doubt, fear, resistance, to be seen, acknowledged, and lovingly released back to Source. And for that, I wish to say thank you. Thank you for your willingness to be a participant in this essential process. The current prevalence of doubt and fear in our culture is not evidence of their growing power, but a signal that we are ready to release them. These energies are becoming more dominant to motivate those of us who are willing to witness and embrace all that is. This doesn't mean condoning or approving of every occurrence, but rather recognizing that nothing exists outside the perfection of oneness. Even these challenging, disheartening expressions have their place within the divine system. It's akin to loving a child who is behaving unconsciously. As a parent, I may disapprove of my son taking a toy from another child simply because he wants it, but I don't condemn him for his behavior. I love him regardless. When he's receptive, I guide him with words of wisdom to help shape his future behavior. If his actions become too aggressive, I give him space to reconnect with himself, relax his nervous system, and reorient to a more balanced, grounded approach to relationships. Can you be this kind of parent to yourself? Can you extend this same compassion to your relationships in the world around you? We have the capacity to extend this same compassion to those still ensnared by the illusions perpetrated by a calculated, self-serving elite. I say this not to judge or vilify, but to shed light on the systems they have established to maintain the current social structure and dynamics. These circumstances, challenging as they may be, serve as catalysts for the evolutionary process we're all engaged in. We all agreed to be here. So let's commit to being here fully. I understand how difficult it can be. We are bombarded daily with reasons to shut down, judge, reject, or belittle the actions of others. Countless forms of media thrive on promoting narratives designed to sustain consumerism, disconnection, and division, feeding on these very cycles. Even many self-help figures, who are really just help gurus, frame self-actualization as something perpetually out of reach. Whether it's about enlightenment, fulfillment, or the gap between where you are and where you want to be, the message often suggests the answer lies somewhere beyond this present moment, reinforcing states of inadequacy. If you can become present, grateful, and open to the now, then you'll achieve the life of your dreams, one might say. And I'm sure that sounds familiar if you have explored the spiritual communities that are prevalent in our culture right now. This framing alone creates separation, fostering the belief that something is missing, that there's a part of you to be found, healed, embodied, or transcended. And let's be honest, it's confusing, isn't it? Is the solution already within me or not? If I don't need to find it, only be it, then why does it feel so difficult? If love is the most powerful force in the universe, how did I lose it? How did it become so muddled, elusive, and distorted? These are excellent questions. Now, for the answer you've been waiting for, the final ultimate answer. Here it is. Take a deep breath. I've got it for you. The reason is irrelevant. Boo. What? What a letdown. Letdown of the century, right? Okay, take another breath and let that sink in. The reason behind all those questions, doubts, and struggles, it is irrelevant. Why? Because God, Source, Spirit, whatever name you prefer, uses any means necessary to guide you back to your true self. Every one of these challenges is simply a catalyst reminding you that you're already home, that you already possess all of the power and creative potency that you would like to express in this world. You are already self-actualized, powerful beyond measure, whole and complete, right here, right now. And yes, you may forget this truth again. Why? Because this is not a perspective the mind can maintain indefinitely. This way of being arises only when we engage with the world from our hearts, and the world engages with us in kind. Thankfully, Source keeps reminding us as often as necessary until we no longer forget. Why? So that you can embody your infinite nature here in the physical realm and model this truth for others, helping them to remember as well. Why? Because that's part of your purpose. Why? Because this is part of the evolutionary process. Why? Because Source, Spirit, God, Consciousness, Infinite Intelligence, whatever name you give it, exists only within one ultimate truth: eternity. So we're getting into the nitty-gritty now. This is the final few chapters of the book. We're going to move right into the reflections and journal prompts of the workbook. Chapter 27, entitled Embodiment, is really one of those chapters that comes entirely from my heart. Embodiment is a shift from understanding to living, to being. It is one thing to believe you are divine, whole, and supported. It is entirely another thing to respond to interruption, fear, disappointment, and uncertainty from that knowing. And believe me when I say life gives you plenty of opportunities to see how anchored and developed the beingness is. Embodiment, though, is not perfection. Every moment affords us an opportunity to remember or to be in a state of forgetfulness, and neither one of those things are inherently good or bad. Because when you are in a state of forgetfulness, you are giving someone else an opportunity to come and be a presence of remembrance, and vice versa. Even though embodiment is not perfection, it is practice. It is the willingness to breathe instead of act, to soften instead of defend, to witness instead of project. You're not here to transcend your humanity. You are here to inhabit it fully with awareness. Every trigger is an opportunity. Every emotion is a doorway. Every moment asks, will you respond from conditioning or from consciousness? And you'll get another chance. Embodiment is remembrance in motion. The journal prompts from chapter 27 are as follows. 1. My personal definition of embodiment is 2. The area of my life where I feel most aligned with my highest self is. And a follow-up to that one, what supports that alignment? Number 3, the area where I struggle most to embody my truth is, and a follow-up to that, what pattern tends to surface there? Number 4, if I lived from my soul's perspective today, I would stop and I would begin. And number 5, when I resist surrender, what am I trying to protect? What might happen if I soften instead? It's interesting how many times our perception of conceding power influences our ability to open up and be present and vulnerable with the evolutionary catalysts that we are interacting with or engaging with, whether it's internal or external. The process of softening can feel like loss, losing our position, instead of opening up and developing a new skill, a new perspective, a new understanding. The exercise for this chapter is called the soul versus mind reflection practice. Choose a current challenge. In your journal, divide a page into 2 columns. In column 1, the mind's perspective. What is the conditioned narrative? What fears arise? What outcome are you trying to control? Column 2, the soul's perspective. What wisdom might be present here? What is this refining in you? If everything were unfolding perfectly, what would this mean? Read both perspectives slowly. Really listen and feel the responses from both aspects of self. Do your best not to censor yourself. Place your hand on your heart and ask which voice feels grounded in love, which one is trying to exert power, control circumstances, achieve specific outcomes. Again, we're not making anything bad here. It's just information. For 24 hours, practice responding from the perspective that feels the most loving. An additional exercise for this chapter is called embodiment. And then the first part of it is the mirror of embodiment. So you'll stand in front of a mirror, look yourself in the eyes, and repeat, I am whole, I am divine, I am exactly where I need to be. Notice any resistance, doubt, or discomfort that arises. Instead of pushing it away, breathe into it and affirm, I welcome all of me. Repeat for 5 minutes daily for 1 week and journal any insights. When I did this, I had a lot of crying happen. There was just a lot of parts of me that felt really, really vulnerable, and they were being given permission to come to the surface. The second step is surrendering to the present moment. So you're going to pick a challenging situation in your life and write about it from 2 perspectives. The mind's perspective, how does your conditioned self react? And then the soul's perspective, what wisdom is available in this experience? And it's very much like the first practice, but it's on a shorter timeline. Then just compare the 2 narratives and reflect on what shifts when you embrace the soul's point of view. The third aspect of this exercise is practicing radical presence. Set a timer for 10 minutes, sit in silence, and observe your thoughts, emotions, and sensations. Instead of analyzing, judging, simply witness them with curiosity. You're not trying to direct anything in this 10 minutes. If resistance arises, remind yourself this too is part of the divine experience, because everything is. Component number 4 is called trusting the flow of life. Write down a list of all the things you're currently trying to control, manifest, create. One by one, ask yourself, what if I let this be exactly as it is? Choose one thing from your list and actively surrender it for the next 24 hours. Let go of it ever coming to fruition and notice what happens. Component number 4 is called aligning with source through action. Each morning, set an intention. Today, I will embody my highest self by fill in the blank. What is one small thing you can do that, from your perspective, will exhibit embodying your highest self? At the end of the day, reflect on how you lived that intention and any resistance that arose, how easy it was to stay connected to the intention throughout the day, what pulled you away from it, what reinforced it. The affirmations for embodiment and trust that align really well with this chapter are, I am a divine being, experience life in its fullness. I trust the unfolding of my journey. I allow my emotions and thoughts to flow without resistance. I honor the wisdom within me and embrace my unique path. Every moment is guiding me toward my highest expression. I embody love, truth, and divine intelligence in every step. I surrender control and trust the perfection of Source that I am. The quotes to contemplate are, you are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. That's a quote from Rumi. The second one is, embodiment is not about becoming divine. It is about remembering you already are and living accordingly. And that quote is from my book. I hope you enjoyed this chapter and contemplation. Until we meet again, be well, enjoy the now, and feel free to contribute, interact, and engage more with this channel and me. Bye for now.